Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back. Today's Daf is Kesubos Yud Beis, and we are on Yud Aleph Amud Beis, 3 lines from the bottom. Tanu Rabbanon. Kan Sarishain L'Shum Nisuin. This woman married Ruvain. L'Shum Nisuin, just another way of saying she actually married him. But V'yesh La Edim Shalei Nistra. We have two Edim who testify that they never spent time privately. In which case, she's presumed to still be a Besula, right? Inami or Nistera, they spent time in private, but V'loishasa K'debia, they didn't spend enough time which would theoretically allow for a physical interaction. So bottom line is, she's assumed to be a Besula, right? Now, she gets a get, she separates, and now a second fellow arrives. Let's call him Shimon. He marries her, thinking she's still a Besula, right? We have two Edim to support that. And then it turns out that she's not a Besula. Ein hasheni yochel litain tanas Besulim. The second fellow cannot complain about her lack of Besulim. You know why? Shaharei Kansarishan. Because she had been married to Ruvain. And he should have at least suspected that in reality she was no longer a Besula. Amar Rabba says, Rabba, I have a right from this halacha. Zoy Seimeris. This will tell us that Kansa Becheskas Besula, a fellow marries an Isha thinking she's a Besula, Venim says Bu'ula, and she turns out to be otherwise a Bu'ula, having already had an interaction with a man. Yesh lo Kesuba Mana, she gets at least 100, meaning not entitled to the entire Ksuba like a Besula, but at least the Ksuba of a Bu'ula, which is 100, like an Almana, right? He can't say Mekach Tos, it's a mistaken transaction. This is not what I had in mind. This is catching me by surprise. I thought she's Besula, she's a Bu'ula, she gets nothing. No. Look at this price. Where this fellow expected one thing, got something else, and still, what is the halacha? That she's entitled to some ksuba. Rav Ashi Amar responds to Rav Ashi, and he says, no, you can't compare this case to any other case. Perhaps, typically, I would say, if a fellow was caught by surprise, he's thinking one thing, she's something else. Less laklal, she gets nothing. She's not entitled to anything. It's a mekach tos. But in this case, it's different. Very different. Shari Kansarishan. The fact is, Ruvain, the first husband, married her. He should have, Shimon should have at least suspected that, although the Edom are speaking one way, but maybe in reality it was, it really was carried through, and she was really not a Besula any longer. Or as the Ramban learns, Ramban has an interesting twist. He says, look, the reason why a fellow would pay a full Kesuba to a Besula, it's because she never had prior experience. She didn't interact with another man. This is fresh. This is for him. But once she went through the process of Nesuin with a first husband, he's already not thinking in terms of pristine, in terms of, the original Isha, unaffected and untampered with. He's already resigned to the fact that she's no longer the regular, typical Besula. So even though in the back of his mind he's thinking that she is a Besula, but bottom line is he's not really insisting on that. That's not really his. That's not really what he's necessarily looking for or expecting, and therefore, this is very different than your typical husband who's caught off guard by surprise. He's thinking Besula, she turns out Bula. No, he knows for a fact that she already married Ruvain. In this case, he's willing to take her regardless, and therefore he can't say Mekach Tos, it's a mistaken transaction. But again, typically speaking, a fellow marries an Isha thinking she's Besula. She turns out to be Be'ula, perhaps it's Mekach Tos. And that's how we pass in La Halacha, by the way. Mekach Tos, and there's no ksuba obligations. Asks the Gemara. Okay, we've addressed the ksuba payments. What about a halacha concern? V'neichush shema tachtav zinsa. You're telling me this fellow can't complain, okay, fine, but what about the isser here? Maybe she was involved with a man, she committed znus once she was already in his care, meaning after engagement. In which case she's an Eishes Ish who did znus, she becomes asr on him. Why do we just ignore that factor? Amar Shravya, that's not a factor. Kigan Shakidish Abal La'alta, we're speaking that husband number 2 engaged and proceeded and did Be'ila right away. So there was no opportunity, there was no possibility of her interacting with somebody else in between the two phases. So that's not a concern. Others had a different version of this whole discussion between Rabbah and Ravashi, and they applied it to our Mishnah, back on the Fir Aleph, where it says Besula, an Isha who's presumed to still be a Besula, but she happens to be an Almana, or a Gerusha, or a Chalutza min HaNesuin, from having already married somebody, but she's assumed to be a Besula, right? There was a Chuppah, but no more than Chuppah, so she's still presumed to be a Besula. In all those cases, Kesubos and Mana, they're only deserving of a Mana, because, as Rashi told us yesterday, the Chazaka is that she's a Be'ula, she only gets 100 zuz. And likewise, and this is the flip side, Ve'elan, Tanas Besulim, the husband can't complain, there's no Besulim. Don't expect Besulim in this case. Now, Besulim min HaNesuin heichem eshkachasla. How do we have an Isha who is already married and still a Besula? She had Chuppah, but no more than that. So this fellow who's now approaching this Isha is still assuming that she never really physically interacted with the first husband. She's still a Besula, and still, what does the Mishnah say? Even if he is to discover that she is a Bu'ua, he can't say Mekachtos. He owes her the Ksuba. A Ksuba of an Amana, 100. Amarabba, we learn from here, Zoyse Meres, this teaches us, Konsa B'chaskas Besula. A man approaches an Isha thinking that she's a Besula, marries her with that mindset. Vinim says Bu'ula, it turns out she's a Bu'ula. He can't say, well, it's a mistaken transaction, I'm canceling the deal. Ksubas Amana. She's entitled to Amana. That's what we see from this Mishnah. He was caught by surprise. He's thinking Besula, she's really Bula. He's not absolved entirely, he pays her Amana. Rav Ashi Amar, no. Maybe typically speaking less klal if she misled him. She doesn't get anything. Here it's different. He should have known better. She already had the chuppah, and once you get to that point, you never know what happens, and he can't expect more than a bu'ula. Asks the Gemara again, okay, so he owes her the money, but aside from money, what about Yerodea? What about Isra Veheta V'lechosh? Shema Tachta V'zinsa. Mishnah says you can't complain about the lack of Besulim. Why not? Maybe she committed znus after engaging this fellow, between engagement and marriage, and that's a problem. Amar Shravya Kigan Shekidesh Baal La'alta, we're speaking that it took place in close proximity, Kiddushin and Baal, in which case there was no time in between for any concern. So basically it's the same back and forth between Rabbah, who thought he had a raya, and Rav Ashi disagrees. Man de Masni La Braisa, the one who applied this conversation to the Braisa that we had with the Eidim who testified that she's a Besula, Koloshkin Amasnisin certainly would apply to the Mishnah. You see, even in the case of the Braisa, where there were two Eidim that supposedly were saying that she's a Besula, and still Rav Ashi says, this is not a case of mistaken identity, this is not a case of a fellow being caught off guard, he should have known better. And that's why he has to give her something. If this argument applies in the case of the Braisa, where there were two Eidim that she's a Besula, still we say, well, you should have expected better. You should have known better. Certainly in the case of the Mishnah, where you don't have any Eidim that support her her besulim status. Of course, in that case, he should have suspected that perhaps she isn't. So if we apply it to the Brisa, of course to the Mishnah, Oman de Maslam Aslisin, but the one that applied the conversation to the Mishnah, over there he should have suspected that perhaps she's a Ba'ula because she had already experienced marriage previously. Avala Brisa Lloyd, but perhaps it doesn't apply to the case of the Brisa, Mishum the Matzi Amala, because the fellow can argue and say, look, I know Eidim Samchi, I was relying on the Eidim who testified on her behalf, who said she was not a Ba'ula. They said she's a Basula in that case. If she turns up otherwise, then perhaps it's a Mekach Tos. But bottom line is, so we do paskin as such. He marries her thinking she's a Basula. Turns out she's a Ba'ula. He's potter from any Ksuba obligations. Because it was something other than what he expected. Says the Mishnah, Ha'eichel Eitzel Chamev b'Yehuda. In the Yehuda territory of Eretz Yisrael, they had an interesting custom, interesting minhag. The chassan would spend some time in his in-laws' home, spend some time with the kala to warm up the relationship, make him more familiar with him, and he would spend time, eat there. Now, if he did it shaloi be'edim, without any edim who were present when they interacted, he can no longer complain about her lack of besulim because he himself did yichud with her, and unless he can prove that it wasn't his doing, he can never complain. The Mishnah uses the word ha'eichel, which sounds like it's subjective. It isn't absolute. If it happened, then yeah. Apparently, even in the Yehuda area of Eretz Yisrael, there were locales where they did not follow this practice. Amar Abaye, we learn from here, Yehuda Nami, even in Yehuda, it all depends on your specific location. Kadesanya, and this is actually seen in the following brisa as well, that even in Yehuda, some places did not adopt this practice of yichud between the chassan and kala prior to marriage. Amar Yehuda, Bereshina, way back when, Hayuman Yachtin as a chassan as a kala shah achas, koidem knisasan l'chuppah, they would encourage the chassan and kala to interact before marriage, kadei sheheli by gaspa, so that they're familiar with each other. Ubegala loyhayois in Cain and Gala they wouldn't do this. Next, Yehuda in the area of Yehuda, Bereshina initially Hayumamidin lahem shnei shvinin. Upon marriage, they would set up investigators. They would have sheshvinim, friends, edim. Echad loy vechad la. One to shadow the chassan, and one to look out for the kala. Why? To ensure that there is no foul play, nobody's playing any games when it comes to the besulim. He might toss away the dam besulim and claim she wasn't a besula. On the other hand, she might sneak in some dam on the side and claim, oh, this is my besulim. So to avoid any manipulation, they used to have edim who would keep an eye on what's going on. To look after, to investigate, to be mefashpesh, memashmesh, b'maaseh, Rashi says, to keep a close eye on the chassan and kala, b'chashas knisasan l'chuppah, upon marriage, to make sure nobody's manipulating the facts. So in Yehuda they had this minhag, u'begalel lo yayu oisin kain, in Gala they did not adopt this practice. Yehuda, in the area of Yehuda, Bereshina, initially, Hayu Sheshvinim Yeshenim, these Sheshvinim fellows would actually spend the night, would sleep Babayi Shechasan Makali Yeshenim Ba, in that same place of the Chasan Kala, to avoid any foul play. Ubegala Lohayu Oisim Kain, in Gala they did not adopt this practice. Now, let's just go back for a second, because in Yehuda, they had a minhag to be Miyachad the Chasan and Kala, right? That's the first item on the list. And then the Brisa says, in Yehuda, they set up sheshvinin, guards, right? To ensure, things run honestly and without manipulation. Now, these two things seem to be incompatible, because if the chassan and kala conducted yichud between themselves before the yichuppah, before the marriage, as per the custom in Yehuda, they were miyachad chassan and kala kadei sheyehli gaspa, then in any case that discounts any possible bisulim claim. He can never complain that there's no bisulim. Perhaps he's the perpetrator. He's the one that brought that about, right? So what's the point of the next item of the shushvinim being there to ensure that the basulim, the dam basulim is, is properly arranged? There was no discussion of dam basulim any longer if there was yichud between chassan and kala prior to marriage. So it's pretty clear from this brisa itself that even in the Yehuda area of Eretz Yisrael, some would do it this way and some would do it that way. In some places they had yichud before the marriage, in which case you have already preempted any complaining about basulim, as opposed to another area of Yehuda where they did not do the yichud, and in which case he can rightfully complain about lack of basulim, and in order to arrange for that, they would have the shushvinim. This would ensure a properly running system. So it's pretty clear that in Yehuda itself, mekaymis ish. Okay, let's just refocus on the brisa again. The brisa goes like this: now, anybody that did not practice this minig, you can't complain about the lack of basulim. End of brisa. What does the brisa mean? Ahaya. He didn't do this thing, so he can't complain. Well, what didn't he do? It's going back on the first item. There was a minig that they had yichud, right, between the chassan and the kala ahead of time. If he did not do this, meaning he always kept separate from the kala, he never interacted with her, then don't complain about basulim. Just the opposite. Just the opposite. If I didn't do yichud, then I can complain about lack of basulim. Then lack of basulim raises suspicions. Kol shenag mibayle. Just the opposite. If he did do that minig, then he cannot complain. Ela asef. Oh, it's going in the second item. That what? The sheshvin come and investigate and keep a close eye. If they didn't do that, then don't complain about the basulim. Then you can't claim and you can't complain. Kol shalei mushmash mibayle. Then the brisa should have used different words. Whoever did not avail himself to be investigated and be looked after, then you can't complain. Instead of saying kol loy nohag, whoever did not do, that's not something that the chassan does. He allows them to do this for him, to be memashmesh by him, to look after him and to investigate what he's doing. So the wording is a bit off. We're going to the first item, to the yichud. But today, and just revise the lashon habraysa kol shenag. Yeah, a fellow who did yichud with the kala ahead of time, don't complain about her lack of basulim. Amalei Rava, what do you mean? Vahash kol sheloy nag katani. The brisa says loy nag, not yes nag. How can you just change the brisa like that? Elama Rava chikamar. The brisa means like this: kol sheloy nag, mina golul begolul. So this fellow is a member of golul, and he did not follow the minhag which is generally practiced in golul. He did not practice that. Loy nag minhag golul in golul. Ella, rather, he adopted the minhag of Yehuda. Ella minhag Yehuda, he did begolul, which basically means he was misyachad with his kala. In this case, all claims are off. Eino yachalita tanas basulim. He can't complain about the basulim. Rashi Amar Leil Maseifa. Perhaps it's going on the second item in the brisa. Otani kol shalai mushmash. Instead of kol shalai nog, change it to kol shalai mushmash, which basically means a chassan who was not open, who did not allow the investigators to keep an eye on him. So that preempts any basulim claim. Says the Mishnah, Achas almonas Yisrael, va'achas almonas kehanim, Kesubos almona. Whether she's an almona belonging to a Yisrael family, or whether she belongs to a Kuhana family, it's all one and the same type of ksuba. When she marries, she's entitled to 100 zuz. However, when it comes to a basula, there were different tiers, different levels. Bezdin shel kehanim, hayagoyim the basula arbami zuz. The bezdin in charge of the kehanim, they adopted a very interesting practice. They decided, you know what, our daughters are worth more, they're more prestigious, they come from a kahuna family, we want to keep their value high, and Ksuba of a Besula, who is a Kehenes as well, is 400 zuz. Chachamim had no problem with it. You can make any minig you want, and in fact, the Mefarshim point out that the added, amount was considered part and parcel of the actual ksuba, not tesefes ksuba. You can add as much as you want. It's called tesefes ksuba. It's on top of the, basic requirements, basic obligations. And here, the Bezdin established that this is the base his chayvus. 400 zuz, that's called the ikar ksuba for the kehanas. Tana, we learned to the Braisa. Valmanas kehanim ksubasa masayim. Just like the besula, who is a kehanas, gets 400, double the standard. The almana of a kohen family also went up to 200 instead of the standard 100. So all doubled. Vanantana, but our Mishnah says otherwise. Achas amanas Yisrael, achas amanas kehanim ksubas amana. An amana is always 100, irrelevant of what family she comes from. Amar Ravashi, there were two phases in the takana. Shtei takanas havu, two steps in the takana. Mikara initially tkinu l'psula arba meyazuz l'almana mana. Initially, even within the kehanim, they differentiated between a besula who gets 400, but an almana stays 100. And then what happened? What happened was, kivan the chazal, once the chachamim saw the mezalzeli buhu, that people are looking down at the almanas. You're getting only a quarter of a basula, so they got shamed and humiliated. It wasn't to their honor. Tekinalu masan, so they upped the almana kehanas as well from 100 to 200. Kivan the chazut the kaparshim minayim. But then once they saw that the general population are hesitating to marry an almana, a kehenes, because they're thinking, they're thinking business. The amri, adana svinan almanas kehanim. Why do I have to marry an almana kehenes and pay her 200? For the same price, I can get a besula bas Yisrael. Right? They're about 200. Nezel, I'll go and marry besula bas Yisrael. So the almana kehenes ended up losing out. Adrinal Masayu. So they put it back to square one. That any almana, whether a kehenes or Yisrael, gets 100. Bezdin shel kehanim, they up the besula kehenes to 400. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel, this is not specific to kehanim. It's not a kohen privilege. Anybody can do it. Lo bezdin shel kehanim b'levad amru does not only apply to the bezdin of kehanim and pertains only to kehanis. Ela afilu mishpachas and machasis b'Yisrael. Even a miyuchas family, an upstanding family of Yisrael, if they want, they can change their price. If they want to follow the kehanim, they can do the same and establish a new system for their families. Meisviv, have a kash on that. If one wishes to follow the practice of the kehanim pertaining to the ksuba amounts, Kigoy, for instance, Bas Yisrael was marrying a kohen, Yisrael a kohen, or Bas kohen li Yisrael oisen. They can up their value. That's the brisa. It's mashman the brisa. Only in these cases, Bas Yisrael a kohen, or Bas kohen li Yisrael, who the ikatzat kahuna, because there's a kahuna element which entitles upping of the price. Aval Bas Yisrael Yisrael loy, but if it's a Bas Yisrael marrying a regular Yisrael, you're not entitled to up the amount. And Shmuel tells us you can. Answers the Gemara, no. The Brisa never meant to present it this way. Rather, the Brisa meant, it goes without saying. Of course, if she's a Bas Yisrael, he's a Yisrael, of course it makes sense, they can do what they want. Because the husband can't claim to her, look, I'm helping you out, I'm adding to your value. Look, I'm picking you up, you're only Yisrael and I'm a kohen. No, you can't say that, because they're both Yisrael. In that case, of course, he's obligated to pay the price that was set. Aval Bas Yisrael a kohen, but let's say she was a Bas Yisrael, and now she's marrying a kohen, that's a chiddush. The Matzi Amala, because perhaps in this case he can say, I'm potter from giving the higher amount. Look, I'm helping you out. You're a regular Bas Yisrael. Now you're joining the Kuna family. You owe me. Right? Perhaps in this case, he doesn't have to live up to the obligations, live up to the new standards, and pay the higher fare. No, you got to follow the rules. Continues the Mishnah. He marries and discovers no besulim. The question is, when were her besulim disrupted? Here marries, she's claiming, look, Misharastani, after you engaged me, Nanasti, I was involved with a man, and that's how I lost my besulim. And your field got flooded, basically. It's your loss. It happened under your watch after engagement. And therefore, I'm entitled to my entire ksuba. He disagrees. That's not necessarily what happened. I don't know, but I'm claiming perhaps otherwise. Maybe it happened prior to engagement. My entire transaction was mistaken. I thought you were basula and you really weren't. So who has the upper hand? She says, look, I know for a fact it happened after engagement. It's your loss. He says, no, maybe not. Prove it. Rabban Gamliel, Rabbi Eliezer Imrim, Ne'emenes. So Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer say, we take her word for it. And he has to pay the full ksuba amount. Rabbi Shua Imr Lo, we can't live from her mouth. There's a Gemara in Sanhedrin about a city called Kushta where they lived very long lives because they only spoke the truth. Emes brings life. We can't live off her mouth. These aren't necessarily true words. Her claim isn't necessarily the emes, isn't necessarily the established truth. That's not derech remez. But simply speaking, Rabbi Shua was just expressing. He's saying, look, we can't trust what she's saying. You can't necessarily go on her words. She's not ne'eman here. She has no verified claim. Ella, rather, harizu b'chaskas bu'ula. We assume, we have to suspect that she was involved with a man prior to her engagement. And she misled the husband into thinking that she was a basula. So we go with that chance, unless she can prove her claim, unless she could independently verify her claim. But until then, she can't force him to pay her a proper ksuba. Itma, we learned elsewhere. Mana li biyadcha. So Reuven approaches Shimon. I have a mana with you, meaning you owe me such and such money. And the other fellow says, look, I don't know, I don't remember. So what happens? Whose claim is stronger? We have a machlekas amaroim. Rabbi Yehuda, Rav Huna, they both say Amri chayev. He has to pay up. For Rav Nachman, Rabbi Yechon Amri potter, he's potter from paying. Explains the Gemara. What's the svara? Why chayev and why potter? Rav Huna, Rabbi Yehuda Amri chayev. Shimon has to pay. Why? Bari v'shema. Look, Reuven's claim is absolute. You owe me money. And Shimon's response is just, I don't know. Shema. So in that case, Bari Adif. The positive, absolute claim coming from Reuven stands higher. Look, why would he claim with such absoluteness if it's totally untrue? There's a svara, right? That if I'm saying you owe me money, there's something to it. Especially when you're not sure and you're uncertain, so my claim prevails. That's one approach. Rav Nachman, Rabbi Yechon Amri Potter, they say the claimant is potter to pay. We leave money where it was, in the hands of its owner. There's a chazaka. It's been yours until this moment. Let's assume it's still yours. There's a chazaka. Cheskas mammon. You can't extract money without proof. Now, how does this pertain to our Mishnah? Because in our Mishnah as well, we have a similar discussion between the man and the woman. One of them is Bari, one is Shema. Who is the Bari? The Isha. She knows what happens. She knows what occurred. She's presenting absolute facts. I know this is when it happened. on the other hand, the man, is questioning her account. But at most, he is merely Shema. Oh, so let's see how this pans out. Amalei Abaylu Rav Yosef, Had Rav Huna. For Rav Yehuda, the Shita presented by Rav Yehuda and Rav Huna, that what? That when we have a conflict between a Bari and a Shema, who wins? The Bari wins. The Shmuel. This is consistent with Shita Shmuel, who held the same. This none. We have a Mishnah coming up soon. Haisu Muberes. So we notice an unmarried woman expecting. V'amr, we ask her, Ma tiva shlu barzeh? So they approach her and they ask her, where does this child come from? Who's the father? What's his status? Is he a kasher? Is he a apostle? Is he a mamzer? What's going on? And she responds, Meish ploini v'koinu. He comes from this husband, from this man, who happens to be a kohen, and therefore the child is a kasher, and he can marry a kohen, and there's no issues here. Do we trust her or not? Rama Gamliel, Rebbe Lezer Oimrim, Ne'amenas, she's believed. V'amar v'damar Shmuel, halacha, ki Rama Gamliel, that's how we paskin, that she's Ne'eman. She knows the facts. We trust her. V'amar le Rav Shmuel bar Yehuda. He turned to Rav Yehuda, and he said, Shinana, I used to call him the sharp one. Amar Slam Shmei de Shmuel. Actually, you once told us, in the name of Shmuel as well, that halacha karama gamliel aparishayna. Not only in the case of the Muberes do we believe her, like Shitas Rabbi Gamliel, even in the previous case, meaning the Mishnah we just discussed today, when there's a conflict regarding ksuba between the husband and the wife, in that case as well, we trust her that Shitas Rabbi Gamliel, she's ne'emenas, to say that the iznus took place, that the oinus took place after engagement. It's your loss, it's your mazel, and I deserve the full ksuba. Says the Gemara, my aparishayna. It sounds like this case, the Rishayna, the case that we're discussing in our Mishnah, is a greater chiddush. Even in this case, we go with Rabbi Gamliel that the Isha's claim is accepted as fact. What's the chiddush? Why is this a greater novelty than the next case with the Muberes? Very pashut. Here, she's trying to extract money from her husband. Here, you can say, well, 1 second. The moment of the husband is meant to remain in the hands of its owner, meaning there's a chazaka. It's my money all along. Keep it by me. You can't force me to pay without proving, right? Still, despite that claim, despite that factor, Rabbi Gamliel Bari Adif. Still, Rabbi Gamliel says, there's a shaila between his claim and her claim. She is the Bari, here's the Shema, Bari Adif, Bari wins. Okay, so bottom line is that we have a shaila in the case of Reuben approaching Shimon, Money li biyadcha, you owe me money. I have Bari. And you say Shema, I'm not sure. So we have a Machlekes Amoraim. Rabbi Yehuda, Rav Huna say Bari Adif. The Bari wins. Rav Nachman, Rav Yechon disagree. No, not necessarily. He doesn't have to pay. Now in our Mishnah, we had a similar discussion, also pertaining to monetary claims. She turns out to be a non-basula. He claims, look, you were this way from the time of engagement. You misled me. It was a megachtos. I'm potter. And she says, no, what happened later? You have to pay me a regular ksuba. Rabbi Gamliel says, she's believed, ne'amenes, because she's the bari. She's claiming with certainty. And therefore she's believed. Says the Gemara, Lema Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Huna, the Amri, Rabbi Gamliel. So perhaps we can line up these two discussions. The discussion in the Gemara regarding the Bari V'Shema corresponds to the discussion in our Mishnah, which also involves Bari V'Shema. Now, Rabbi Yehuda and Rav Huna, who say Bari is stronger, the Amri Karam Gamliel. will be consistent with Rabbi Gamliel in our Mishnah, who also supposes that the Isha is in the right, Bari Adif. For Rav Nachman, Rabbi Yehuda, the Amri, on the other hand, the other Amorai, Rav Nachman, Rabbi Yehuda, who say, well, Bari isn't necessarily in the right, the Amri, Rabbi Yeshua, they will follow Rabbi Yeshua, who likewise in our Mishnah doesn't consider the Isha to be in the right, even though she's a Bari. Is that true? Do we have to line it up this way? Amalach Rav Nachman, says Rav Nachman, no, not so fast. Ano the Amri, afilu Rabbi Gamliel. Even though I maintain that when there's a conflict between a Bari and a Shema, you don't necessarily give the rights to the Bari. That's my shita. But I can work even with Rabbi Gamliel in our Mishnah. You know why? Because here, there's more than just the fact that she's certain. There's more than the fact that she's a Bari. She has more going for her. There are other factors in her favor. And that's what Rabbi Gamliel says she wins. Perhaps it's only in the Mishnah that Rabbi Gamliel maintains that she wins, elodika migu, because she has a migu factor playing in her favor. What does migu mean? I could have. If I would have wanted to make up a story, I could have made up a much better story. I'm not a basula, I'll tell you why. Muka says, I was struck by an instrument. She's lying. She should have lied better. She chose not to make up stories. She chose to present the facts as they were, with integrity and honesty. And therefore she says, look, I acknowledge, nasty. I was involved with a man forcefully, and I'll tell you when it happened. It happened after engagement. There's a migun that supports her story. It lends credence to what she's saying. And that's why we believe her. But in the classic case of a Bari V'Shema, you owe me money? I don't know. I don't have a migu. There's nothing going for me to substantiate my claim. Inami, or you can say, which factor is playing in the Isha's favor, which is not present in the classic Bari V'Shema. Adkan like Amar Gamliel Hasam, maybe perhaps in the Mishnah. Rabbi Gamliel says we trust her. Elodam Rinan Ukma Chazaka. Will allow her to maintain her chazaka. Which chazaka? Rashi says every isha when she's born is a besula. Chazaka tells us that she held on. She maintained her besula status as long as possible. So true, now it's been disrupted. But let's assume that it's been disrupted more recently than not, right? As late as possible. Right? She starts off a besula. The Cheskas besula says she maintains that status as long as possible until you've proven otherwise. So now we have a non-besula standing here. We assume it happened more recent than not. So this supports her claim that it happened just yesterday. And that's why she's trusted. Aval hacha my chazaka isli lahai, as opposed to the classic case of you owe me money, and he says I don't know. There's no chazaka working in my favor. So it's interesting that even Rav Nachman would agree that in our Mishnah, by the Ishvi Isha, she's in the right. Because on top of the fact that she's a Bari, she has a chazaka of a Basula. She has a Migu. In fact, it seems probable that our assertion is correct. That what? The Rav Nachman, the Rav Nachman will follow, will be consistent with Rabbi Gamliel as well, as we just explained. The Imken, because otherwise, the Rav Nachman disagrees with Rabbi Gamliel, you're going to run into issues. Kasha, hilchasa, hilchasa. We're going to have a stira between two halachas. On the one hand, the Kaimalan, hilchasa, Rav Nachman Bedini. It's an accepted, fact that when it comes to monetary issues, we always follow Rav Nachman. So in the classic case of a Bari V'Shema, the Bari does not win, right? Ubaha. As opposed to our sugya with the Isha and the Isha, Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel, we just had a psak that what? Halacha Rabbi Gamliel, that she wins. The Bari wins. But typically we follow Rav Nachman. The Bari doesn't win. This must be different. Elalav Shmamina, it's pretty clear. Kidim Shanina Shmamina, that our teretz indeed holds up that although perhaps typically a bari will not win, but in our case, since she has a migu and a chazaka going for her, she will come up on top. So, what did we learn today? This fellow marries thinking she's a besula, konsa b'cheskas besula, v'nimtzes bu'ula. Rav Ashi maintains it's a mekachtos, he's totally potter. We learned about the area called Yehuda, where they had a minhag to be meyachad l'chasim l'kala. In this case, don't complain about besulim. Likewise, if they didn't allow themselves to be investigated by these shushvinin on the night of the wedding, in that case, once again, there's no complaints about besulim. How much does a besula get? Typically 200. The bezn of kehanim upped it to 400, and not only kehanim, anybody can do that as long as it becomes an accepted practice and is formalized as such. An almana, even the almana of kehanim, stayed at 100. The Gemara explains initially it was up to 200, but then it made for issues and they went back down to 100. Okay, so we have a case where he marries and discovers no besulim. He says, look, you were this way upon engagement, it's a mekachto, it's not what I expected. And she says, no, it happened much later, it's your fault, it's your mazel. So Rabbi Yehoshua says, he's pater. Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Lezer say, no, she wins. And the Gemara concludes that even the Shita who holds that, typically speaking, when we have a shaila between a bari and a shema, right? He knows and Reuben knows and Shimon doesn't, pertaining to Dini Mamonis, we say, the bari doesn't necessarily win that claim. But here it's different, because on top of the fact that she's a bari, she also has a migu going for her and a cheskas besula going for her. In this case, all agree that the halacha would be Rabbi Gamliel, that she is ne'emanis. All the best to you, and Atzlacha Rabbah.